Hi all, today we're talking negative space. So we're looking at drawing the holes through objects and the space around the objects. So the positive space of this bottle is the thing itself. All right. The negative space is the line that separates everything that is bottle from everything that is not bottle behind it, or beside it, or through it. I'm going to draw the line that runs around the outside edge, the outermost edge of the object from wherever I see it from. It runs all the way around whatever separates what is bottle from what is not bottle, okay? And around the front of it. So I'm not worried about the divider between cap and bottle, or spout and bottle, and all that stuff. It's just what is the object and what is not the object is the only thing I'm worried about. Is that line that separates those two things, that boundary between the two things. We're going to look at a coffee cup and we're going to look at a stool, try to do that. With the stool, it really is start with drawing the holes and then draw the line around the outside edge of the stool. Everything that separates what's in the stool from what's outside of the stool. All right, why don't we jump in? To show you what a negative space drawing is, I first want to show you what it is not. Here's a drawing that's drawing the coffee cup. It's the positive space of a coffee cup. It's the coffee cup. So it's a gesture drawing of the shapes of the lip and everything else of the cup. Here is a negative space drawing of the same coffee cup where I'm focusing on the outside edges of shapes, the hole of the coffee cup, the hole around the handle. I'm not drawing the inside mouth of it. I'm not drawing the front lip of the cup. I'm not drawing any of the details of the cup. It's just the space around or through the coffee cup. Here I'm drawing a stool, the negative space of a stool, and I'm starting by drawing the holes that run all the way through the stool. I like to start by drawing one of the larger holes on the inside of the object, preferably somewhere in the middle so I can kind of plan where I'm going. So that taller shape I've drawn is that middlemost hole there in the stool. The shape's a bit different because I'm sitting a little more to the right, so the shapes aren't quite the same that you see here. It'll be okay. So I'm going one hole at a time and drawing each shape. I'm not drawing half a hole and then moving on to another one. That gets really confusing. So I draw a shape. I focus on getting each angle for each hole right, and I close up each hole before I move on to the next one. I take some focus here. This is not a gesture drawing. I'm actually going kind of slow and careful here. I'm measuring the angles. To do that, I'm laying my pencil on the angle that I see on the stool, and then compare it to the angle I've drawn on my paper and seeing if it kind of matches up. I'm using my pencil as a measuring stick that way. I'm leaving space for all the positive shapes of the stool, all the supports and rungs and legs. I'm leaving space for all that. I'm drawing one hole at a time before I move on to the next one. So if you glance back and forth between the holes that I'm drawing and the holes on the stool, you can start to see how they kind of line up. Again, the shapes might not be exact because I'm drawing from further from the side. This drawing is much slower than a gesture drawing. It's careful. I start to think about it in terms of I want to look at a line made by a hole and draw just that line, and then look at the next line and that's made by a hole and draw that line. And I've got my eraser to adjust, but it's not skipping around. It's a very systematic approach of drawing all of the holes that go all the way through it before I draw the boundary of the outside edges of the stool. You'll see that here in a minute. Take your time, don't hurry. Every little hole. Now I'm starting to work, I've got all of the holes done. So I'm starting to work on around each leg, around the sides of the stool. The little feet that the stool sits on. I'm ignoring the table. I'm just drawing the object. And why? Why are we doing this? It's to learn that the space around things and the space between things are as important as the space the object takes up, right? So that the holes, the space, the shape of the holes are as important as the rungs of it or the legs of it. It's all the same. It's all just paper and pencil. As I'm drawing it, it's all just paper and pencil. So take your time, figure it out. I'm also comparing the relative heights of each of the legs so it kind of sits on the paper better. I check the angle from one leg to the next. And then go around the top of the stool. The top of the stool is kind of flat from my point of view. As I said, this drawing takes study. Like, you have to really look at it, really check each angle, check the shapes if you want it to look right. And at the end, you end up with a drawing, just by drawing the holes and the space around it, that looks like a stool. And that's kind of it. So remember, you're drawing the holes and the space around it, the boundary that separates the object from everything else behind it. So with that stool, really I'm drawing the wall and the table that I can see through the stool or around the stool. I'm not worried about this side of the stool against that side of the stool. I don't care about sides of chairs or stools. All I care about is whatever I can see all the way through it. All right? Okay, go make drawings. Go.